In 1968, epidemiologists Newman and Schoenheist discussed the potential of global pandemics. Newman raises concerns about fungi as a significant threat due to no preventative treatments or cures, and their ability to alter the very minds of the hosts they inhabit. Schoenheist counters, highlighting the improbability of fungal infections in humans because of body heat, but Newman mentions the possibility of evolution due to global warming. When the host asks the outcome of that scenario, Dr. Newman says simply, "We lose." In Austin, Texas, 2003, 14-year-old Sarah awakens on a normal Austin morning. She wakes up her dad from sleeping through his alarm and starts making him a birthday breakfast, noting that he forgot to get pancake mix. Joe's brother Tommy shows up to go to work and to have breakfast, but there's not enough food for him because Joel forgot the pancake mix. Joe's brother Tommy shows up to go to work and to have breakfast, but there's not enough left over. During breakfast, the trio hears disturbing news stories coming from Jakarta. Before leaving for school, Sarah takes a broken watch and a wad of cash from her dad's nightstand drawer. After school, she gets on a metro bus and heads downtown to a watch repair store. While repairing the watch, the shop owner notes the noise outside that ambulances and police cars have been going by all day long. Shortly after that, his wife comes into the shop saying that they are closing early. The owner notes that it's hours before they're supposed to close. His wife tells Sarah she must go home. Sarah takes the repaired watch and heads out. Once back home, Sarah goes to hang out at her neighbor's house. She asks the neighbor if she's heard any reports of disasters that would account for all the extra activity, but the neighbor hasn't. They make raisin cookies, and Sarah does her homework until it's time to go back home. Joel arrives home late from work and without the cake that he promised Sarah. She's upset and threatens not to give him his birthday present if he doesn't get a cake tomorrow. He promises, and she gives him the repaired watch, and they settle in on the couch and watch an old favorite movie of Joel's, and Sarah falls asleep. Later during the night, Joel gets a phone call from his brother Tommy. Tommy's in the Austin County Jail and needs Joel to come bail him out because it's Friday, and if he doesn't get out now, he'll be stuck there for the weekend. Tommy also mentions that the jail is getting increasingly violent and out of control. Joel takes Sarah to bed and heads out to get Tommy. Sometime later, Sarah wakens up to the sound of helicopters and spotlights coming in through her windows. Looking around outside, she hears a noise coming from the neighbors and goes to check on Mrs. Adler. She finds a horrifying scene where everyone in the house has been attacked by a once senile elderly woman. Sarah escapes outside, and her father and Tommy arrive, killing the infected woman. The trio attempts multiple escape routes out of the city. The chaos leads to a tragic accident, and Sarah's death at the hands of a soldier, setting a personal vendetta for Joel against the backdrop of the pandemic. 20 years later, a child shambles through a destroyed Boston, making his way into that city's quarantine zone. He's brought inside and asked a series of questions, which he doesn't answer. After noticing what looks to be a cut on his leg, a machine is used to test him, which turns red. One of the guards says after some medicine, he'll be given some clothes, his favorite food. He's given a shot and told that he's safe. After we see more of the Boston quarantine zone, where dead bodies are burned on the streets by a truckload, one of the bodies is that of the aforementioned child, who has been tied up and has a bag over his head. When one of the workers burning the body says she can't do it because it's a child, Joel comes over, picking up the body and throwing it in the flames carelessly. When we meet Joel's partner, Tess, she's being held against her will by someone who ripped her off for a truck battery. Right before Tess and Robert are about to come to agreement over the battery, a bomb blows up outside near where she's being held. Tess escapes to the streets, where she is thrust into the middle of a firefight between Fedra and the Fireflies. Then we're introduced to Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey, who is also being kept against her will and chained to a radiator. She's given a series of tests, like counting from 1 to 10, or saying her name slowly. Joel uses some of the black market goods he traded for to visit a man with a radio, who says he's been talking to a distant tower every day, but hasn't heard from Joel's brother Tommy in 3 weeks. Joel then asks the man to show him where the tower is on the map, and the man points to its placement in Wyoming. He goes home and passes out. The next morning, he wakes up with Tess there, and she tells him that Robert stole their battery and sold it to someone else. Joel lets her know the plan to go to Wyoming and informs her that they need to get the battery back. They agree to hunt Robert down to get their stuff and then go find Tommy. Back in the Fireflies, we're introduced to Marlene, the leader of the Boston faction. One of her followers, Kim, asks why they're attacking Fedra and why she has a girl tied up. Marlene reveals that they're attacking the QZ to lure Fedra everywhere but their hideout so that the Fireflies can leave and take that girl west. Joel and Tess head through a subway to get to Robert, and upon entering a marked door, find the decomposed body of a man stuck to a wall from severe infection. After making their way up a ladder and through a door, they smell gunpowder and see blood seeping from under the door. Under the door itself, they can see Robert's dead body. Next to it, Joel and Tess's dead battery, which is clearly no good. The hallway was clearly the scene of a shootout, with several other people lying dead. Joel and Tess hear Marlene and Kim at the end of the hall, and Ellie comes out of a door trying to attack Joel, but Joel has no problem dealing with her. They learn that Robert was trying to sell the bad battery to Marlene and the Fireflies, but the deal went bad, leaving Kim without an ear and Marlene shot in the side. Marlene says she needs the battery more than Joel does, and Joel says Marlene turned Tommy against him. They work out a deal where Joel and Tess will take Ellie to the old state house to meet the Fireflies, where they'll get everything they need: a truck, guns, and supplies. The trio finds their way outside the quarantine zone, trying to stay low to avoid Fedra, but they run into a guard Joel sold pills to earlier, who pulls a gun on them. The soldier tells them to get on their knees and test the group to see if they're infected. While Tess and Ellie are clean, Ellie stabs the soldier before he can get a read on her status. Joel stands between the soldier and Ellie, flashing back to 20 years ago when he lost his daughter Sarah, and the last time someone meant anything to him. Joel tackles the soldier and punches him over and over again until he dies. Tess sees that Ellie tests ended up being positive, to which Ellie replies she's not infected and that she was bitten, but after 3 weeks, nothing has happened to her. Even though they were wary of Ellie's claims, they now know they have to move to get away from Fedra.